Perry Smith, it is all you. We have some special programming going on here at Hometown Station. We are trying to fill a seat.
Thank you, Tori. Yes, and just to give a background for our listeners, there are 50 applicants now for the seat that was vacated by Dante Acosta's election from City Council to the 38th Assembly District seat. And so now we are trying to invite all of the applicants in to speak to the issues and give our listeners a chance to hear what they have to say. Thought that would be a little more civil than a scrum with all 50 of you in an arena. So why don't you start? Mark White, you're in the studio, you're on the hot seat. Tell us a little bit about yourself as a resident and your background in Santa Clarita.
Thanks, Perry. Thanks, KHTS, for hosting this. I think it's a good idea to have the more information we get to people, the better. It's quite a process. I've lived out here since 1965. Met my wife here, raised my family here, ran a campaign, came in 8th, got almost 4,000 votes for my first attempt, which I was pretty excited in November. Would have been more excited to win, but there were some pretty steep odds and some really good candidates running. Real happy with the two that got elected. Main reason I ran is I've lived out here, worked out here, played out here. It's a great, awesome community, and I've always believed in service and giving back. I've been a member of various community organizations, Rotary Club for 25 years, AYSO, Heart Pony Baseball, PTAs, schools, you name it. I've supported it, not in a high-profile public way, and so that's why some people say, "Oh, Mark, you're a newcomer." I've been out here and love the city. I've had my business out here for 30 years, own a mortgage banking company, and be able to serve people getting houses, and that's a lot of fun.
Can I ask you this, Mark? What, because you'd mentioned you've been a long-time resident, you've been very involved in the community. Was there a particular issue that pushed you to run for the last election or spurred this involvement in the city council?
Well, no, I've watched from outside and been, follow along locally with a lot of stuff that's going on, and actually considered applying, ironically, for the seat when Cameron got elected to the assembly. Didn't do it because the kids were younger. I've got a 25-year-old son living in Orange County. My daughter's third year in college. I was gonna do it in 2012, pull the papers and do it, and decided to devote more time to the family.
And then the kids are a little bit older now.
Kids are older now. I've got a lot of free time. I've been, like I say, I used to be president of a 1,200 homeowner association.
Which one was that?
Valencia Northbridge.
Okay.
And at the time I came on the board, it wasn't just me. We had a new board and we had a lot of issues to deal with. And with good communication, teamwork, integrity, transparency, we solved a lot of problems that had been ongoing in a neighborhood. And people only complain at HOAs when something's wrong.
Sure, you don't get a lot of letters saying thank you for
No, but actually we did regarding paint and tree issues and stuff like that, small things, but the city government runs very similar. They have a professional staff, and the job of the city council is to work together, question things, obviously, listen to the people, and make decisions that are transparent, that are financially prudent and sound, and make sure you're communicating what's going on.
Now, talk to me a little bit about what you see as the priorities for the City Council, because obviously you've mentioned quite a few issues, but if you're elected to the body, what do you see as the big issues that they should be tackling? There's
a couple big issues. Obviously, the number one, we just listened to a traffic report, is traffic.
Sure.
I'm glad there's no accidents. This city grew following some country roads, basically, and it wasn't, there's part of the community is master planned and traffic's not as bad in some areas, although at peak traffic times, I don't care where you go, what part of the city, in or out, you're going to have traffic and gridlock for that half hour to 45 minutes, which is frustrating to people that commute over the hill.
Sure.
And they come back and now they got to sit another 25 minutes to get from Valencia Boulevard to top of Bouquet.
Sure.
Or sometimes longer. I think the thing that the city is going to continue to tackle is traffic. Traffic studies, synchronization, getting the buses off the main roads and making indentations for the buses to pull in. The other thing we have to aggressively look at is those real bad bottlenecks. I mean, Sierra Highway and Soledad comes to mind. If you look at that corner, it's impacted because it wasn't planned properly when it was built, I think, before we were a city. And so do you do things, a big bold thing, eminent domain, and take out some of those commercial centers, which is, nobody's talking about that. But if we're going to relieve traffic at those places, you're going to have to widen the roads and you're going to go into people's businesses. And that's something they did in downtown Newhall here, where they changed the structure of the land over a long period of time, and now downtown Newhall is looking better every day.
So as well, in addition to that transportation and addressing those needs for commuters, what else might you kind of look at as far as a community-wide?
Well, the community is served by a tremendous amount of great people, nonprofits, people that get involved, and I talked about that on the campaign. One of the things that we hear is we can't do something, we can't do A, we can't do B, whether it's homeless, whether it's drugs, because of county rules or the state rules. And I've was on the campaign saying we got a lot of smart people in the city and the nonprofits, and we need to partner and work together to figure out the way to get the best resources and the people that can handle it. The homelessness is an issue. It's growing. The city's been doing some stuff with the sheriffs, getting them out of the washes, but we got to do something about that. The other thing is the drug issue is growing. There's cheap, bad drugs coming to this community, and California just passed Prop 64 to make it legal, and I'm happy to support the city's moratorium until they can look at it and figure out a way to keep it out of our city as long as we can.
And that's a great segue to my next question. I just want to look at, I'm asking everybody, if you can look at one thing that the City Council has done in the last few years that you think they did it right and that's what you would have done, and maybe one thing that you would do differently if they appointed you to the body and put you in charge.
One thing, well, first of all, you wouldn't be in charge. You're part of a team. But the city's done a lot of great things. They've expanded the arts. They've expanded the trails. They've continued to grow. We just got recognized as one of the business-friendly city, I think, in LA County. We've been in the top 3 many years. I think it's good stewardship. And you've had people on the city council for a long time, which some people say, oh, it's time to go change turnover. Yeah, but good turnover. And 3 terms I think would be good if we look at that as a limit. But you want that continuity of people that have the history and the stewardship of managing the city. So it's not just one thing. It's a bunch of little things that add up to a wonderful city, low crime, still a safer city, but crime's on the rise, and we got to be aware of that.
And so maybe one thing that you would do differently, you're suggesting maybe term limits, or is that what you?
Well, I think term limits is probably going to come. It's at the state level. It would make sense to seriously look at that and how the details would come out. That'd be you have to look at that. But one thing that I kind of wish the city did, and just speaking as one of the 9 candidates who ran or 11 candidates that ran, but one of the 9 that didn't win, I wish they would have just picked from one of us 9. It would have been a lot easier.
Okay.
And my other fellow candidates who are on the campaign trail probably agree with that. But I think it's great they've opened it up. It's democracy. It's everybody get into the fray, the scrum, I think, as you said earlier,
right.
Or somebody did, and see how the chips fall. The 17th is going to be a fun night. I invite everybody to tune in or come down.
Yes, certainly fun is one word to describe it. So Mark, tell me a little bit, if there's any other message that you'd like to get out there. We got a little bit of time, and you've answered all the hot seat questions, so you got a minute left. What can we share?
I try to answer the questions quickly. The Signal did an article, not to talk about your competitors, but they did question and answers, and they'll be coming out in the paper in a couple days. And on the campaign trail and the questions, I'll give direct answers to questions. I love this valley, real plain and simple, and a lot of people run it, and there's a lot of good people. I know several of the candidates outside of the ones that ran, the people that have thrown their hat in the ring. There's some really good people. So the city's going to have the city council is going to have a tough choice when it comes down to it, because there's probably, I would think, at least maybe a dozen really well-qualified people that can do the job and do it well. And I would like to think I'm one of those. My platform has just been enthusiastic love for the city, transparent. I have 30 years of financial experience in analysis, decisive decision-making, stuff I've said for the last few months on the campaign trail. And given the opportunity, I would be honored to serve the citizens of Santa Clarita as their city councilperson.
Well, Mark White, thank you again for taking the time to come down here and talk to our listeners and speak to the residents about the issues in the city.
You're welcome. Thanks, Barry.
Good luck on January 17th when they make that decision.
We'll be there.